Right, hello everybody, and welcome to Shouting Over Static, Series 2, Episode 1, the premiere of our second season of the show where we actually talk about video games and not the news. I am your host, Mark. I'm here with Dylan. Hello, Dylan.
Hello.
I'm also here with Chaw.
Hello.
And Jack.
Hello.
Hey, yeah, no, I'm doing alright, mate. Yeah, I'm doing good. Who wants to say what the point of this is about? Who wants to do the Shouting Over Static summary?
I'll give it a go if you want.
Go on then.
Right, so Season 1 we started with each week one of us brings a video game to talk about. We rotated through who does it, and the games varied from ones we'd known, ones we'd all experienced, to really obscure ones, and we thought sometimes that ended up with complete bullshit episodes, so we're mixing it up. At the beginning of this month we announced that we were going to essentially just play Doom for April, and then talk about it.
It is the most metal month.
Exactly. And that's what that's what we're doing here today. We're recording our actual, I guess, the first Shouting Over Static Season 2 episode, right? The others have been what we've dubbed Shouting Over the News.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Although I think all of us have saved our audio files as Season 2, Episode 1, 2, 3. I think this is actually 1, so that's going to be confusing for...
I've been renaming them all to Season 2 N01, N02 and N03 behind the scenes.
That's
Nice.
smart.
Yep.
Genius.
It's a little behind the scenes look at you for everyone right there. That's Mark and his OCD filing system on his computer.
So yeah, I mean that's it, right?
So as you said, the game for April that we've all been playing and now we'll talk about is 2016's Doom. Developed by id Software, published by Bethesda Softworks. It came out on May the 13th in 2016 for Windows, PlayStation 4, and the Xbox One. And actually came out last November for the Nintendo Switch, though I don't think any of us are playing it on that.
No.
So
No.
Definitely not. So I think that is perhaps a bad way to play that game. I think it's like 720p, 30 frames a second.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
That's the best way to play fast-paced first-person shooters. Did you know?
Yeah. I mean,
quality and low frames.
considering that the Switch can even do that is quite impressive.
It is
Like it's a we'll get into the game's optimization in a bit. But what platforms are we all playing on?
I'm on Xbox One.
Yeah, I'm
Yes.
also on Xbox One as well.
I'm on PC.
And I also played it on the PC.
Nice.
Okay, so we've got two PCs.
Fuck
We've got two
Sony.
PCs, two console versions of it. So that'd be interesting to hear maybe what some of your experiences in the console version are like. Because I know the PC version can take in controller input, but I haven't actually plugged a controller into it and done that because why would you? I guess.
Yeah.
But yeah, I guess before we get into Doom 2016, does anybody actually have any history with this series? It's one of the most storied series in video games. You know, I believe the first one came out in 1992. So there we go. They've been knocking around for a while. 93 was the release of the original Doom. So, you know, does anyone have any experience with this
I must
series
say-
pre this Doom?
I must say I don't. I got Doom 2016 when it for like a couple of months after it originally came out, and I was like, yeah, man, Doom seems cool. It'd be cool to sit down and play it. And I got about a quarter way through, like looking back at it now and having played a lot of it, and looking back at it and be like, man, how the hell did I get like stuck on this game? And then obviously with the restrictions on the amount of storage I've got on my Xbox One, I uninstalled it for a different game, and I haven't revisited it since. But yeah, it was. Yeah, I don't really have much experience with any of the previous games, but certainly Doom 2016 now, it's such a good game.
Yeah, it's
I
solid.
had it on the Game Boy at one point. At least I'm fairly certain I had it on Game Boy. I definitely played some version of old school Doom a lot when I was younger, and that was always dope as hell. But I think it was it was a Game Boy version. It wasn't any of the newer versions. So I think it was the Doom 1 on Game Boy Advanced,
Yeah, that is a thing that exists.
and it was great. I had a great time because just shooting demons.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of what Doom's all about. I don't know, Shaw,
Yeah.
do you have a background in Doom in Doomonomics?
Nice. No, I've never played Doom before, but I've played Unreal Tournaments. I don't know if they count as the experience of an arena shooter type thing.
Yeah, totally. I mean, there is similar DNA there, right?
Yeah. And similar guns as well, I believe.
Yeah. Like id did it did Doom, and then it sort of did Quake, and then Unreal came in and did Unreal as sort of the counterpart, I guess, to Quake, as like a slightly more story focused thing. It's always how I saw it. Like Epic put out Unreal, and then Unreal became Unreal 2, which became Unreal Tournament, and Unreal Tournament and Quake 3 Arena were always kind of the two. It was like, do you want your games to be like just murder based or objective based? But they had very similar gameplay for sure.
Murder based, I love it.
I do love a good murder based video game. Yeah.
If there's no murder, is it even a game?
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe not. Even Super Mario does murder.
Oh man.
Yeah, like even racing games, if you crash, you murder
Motherfucker's dead.
someone. So, what's like Dance Dance Revolution doing? No murder there. Not
What
game.
about if you
That's an
dance
exercise.
too hard and have a heart attack?
That's it.
That's like
Self-murder.
dying. Although that is the whole thing for that's how they explain how Scott Pilgrim's really good at fighting in the movie, not the books. It's not Dance Dance Resolution, but it's the like ninja version, isn't it? And that's meant to be their whole look. Our main character can fight well, so he murders people in that. There's a link. We've got it. We nailed it.
Do you know that you called it Dance Dance Resolution again just then?
I nearly did. Yeah. I thought I caught myself.
No,
It's because
you definitely didn't.
it's because there was a shit. What was the TV show? Some TV show I recently watched. One of the episodes is called Dance Dance Resolution, and now I can't stop.
Well, good gosh. I was already 8 minutes in, 8 minutes and 45 seconds in, and completely off track.
It's
Hey
the
man,
fastest.
we're still talking about games. Kind
Yeah,
of.
this is true. They're doing better. So, okay. I don't know how you guys want to do this. I've actually taken some notes as I've been going through. I've got a few pages of notes, but I'm happy just to sort of jump in, like into Doom 2016, and sort of. I know, Shaw, you've got I think a short but emphatic statement about it.
It's great. That's it. Done. No, so about 50% of the game I finished in one sitting. About on Thursday night. So it's very fresh in my head.
Nice.
Oh wow.
That's too much Doom in one go. God
Oh
damn.
yeah, but I had to go. I had to do it because I wasn't doing it the weeks before because I'm a terrible person.
It's true. We knew that.
Was that like the whole back half of it? You just like chained through them?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, I stayed up until like 1 to finish it
Oh man.
on a work day. So pretty
Dude,
hardcore.
that's huge.
Yeah, I mean, we can talk. Why don't you start and then we can just jump in and give us points as well.
Okay, well, like I think something that I definitely know. I think was first. Have we all finished it? Did we all get to the end?
Yes.
I didn't ever reach the end. No, I let myself down.
Oh,
I
Okay.
played it loads, and then the last like week I didn't. But like, don't worry about spoilers because obviously.
Yeah, no,
That-
we're not
that would be a
going to
shit
worry about spoilers. But I'd be interested to sort of hear about why you didn't like. How far did you get? Was it because like the game kind of lost its steam? Did you what
I think
made
that was
it?
a little bit of it to me. So like I the first few times I played it, I really enjoyed it, and it was great, and like it did keep my attention. But I always found that I wasn't ever feeling like I wanted to play Doom unless I was actually playing it at the time. Like when I was playing it, I was like, yeah, this is great. I want to keep going. But it didn't have that same sort of pullback factor for me that a lot of other games do, in that I was just sat doing something else and being like, oh, I'm itching for some Doom. Which I think is strange because the kind of game it is, I think I always feel like I get that sort of reaction to games for ones where they feel like quite unique to play, and there's a certain that kind of entails it all really. They feel unique to play, and when you're playing it, everything's different. Like, so we all know I love grappling hooks. If you've got a good swinging game, it feels it feels different. It feels like you're doing something strange, and Doom definitely has that. Doom's got you're doing everything in a very certain way. You're running around making sure you switch between your weapons right. You're fucking chainsawing through enemy after enemy, and it feels great. But I don't know, it just didn't have that je ne sais quoi about it. There was something missing that meant I just didn't go back. And then, I mean, just the last week before I left, I didn't really have time. I think I would have finished it otherwise. I got to... so I just met Dr. Hayden and was all up in his biz.
Oh, yes, when you go back to the facility from hell and you go into, is it the Advanced Research Complex or the Lazarus Labs?
The Lazarus Labs. So I got to that bit and then just didn't pick it up again. I don't know what it was. But yeah.
Okay. Well, okay, so we've all experienced the opening of this game. So I've actually written down here in my notes that fucking beginning. Because the first, I'm going to say 20 minutes of Doom, it's a fucking statement, isn't it? It's a statement of intent.
It chucks you in, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that was basically like their E3 thing as well, wasn't it? They just did the opening, and I mean, it's enough. It tells you what Doom is.
Yeah.
It's a remarkable thing.
Yeah, like I think that like black screen with like the demonic rune on it and the voice in the background saying like what did it say? Like, they are like hell incarnate, but you are worse. Rip and tear until it is done.
Yeah.
And then you wake up and you're just fucking naked on that sarcophagus, and then you crush that zombie's head in like your bare hands and explode out the sarcophagus and just start shooting dudes. And then the game doesn't really actually slow down.
No, not
from then on until the very, very end, really. It just sort of goes, yeah, you're going to do this. And it's such a solid opening. And then you get like, I really like, you leave that room and you put on your suit of armor. And then there's the computer screen there, and like, Samuel Hayden's talking to you and he says whatever he says to you, and it's a very similar looking like graphical style to the computer screens from Doom 3.
Okay.
Which you spend an awful lot of Doom 3 interacting with those computer screens as if your cursor was actually a mouse, or like clicking on things and going through stuff on a screen. And I like that the game shows you that, and then you just smash the computer monitor, and it's just like, no, this is not Doom 3. We're not going to fuck around with that. We're going to break stuff. You've got a shotgun. It's going to be cool.
Yeah, actually, he breaks a lot of things when he's not supposed to be breaking them, right?
Yeah, I have
Argent Tower as well, isn't it?
Yeah, I have that written down here as well, where you just fucking smash everything in that Argent kit, and Hayden just gets more and more and more upset with you. Yeah, it's such an attitude. Like the game opens and just sets its stall out, going, no, this is the attitude we're coming at this from. This isn't going to be. You're not going to be like hiding behind cover and aiming down sights. You're not going to be like learning key codes and painstakingly entering them into keypads using your mouse as like a pointer, like in Doom 3. It's like, no, you're just gonna fucking break stuff and shoot stuff and run around, and it's gonna be cool.
I've
then I
heard that Doom 3 is like a horror, a much slower paced horror.
It is. It is. Doom 3. Doom 3 is a very, very horror based game. It relies. So Doom 3 was basically John Carmack was like, I've come up with all this really sweet lighting tech. Like, I've worked out how to do like dark and light and shadows really, really well. So let's just make a Doom game where everything's really dark and you need to use a flashlight all the time and there's just shit coming out of the dark at you. And so you spend a lot, and that's the game that very famously had you could either have a flashlight out or a gun out.
Oh wow!
No.
And on like the first day, there was a mod that was called the duct tape mod that just lets you have a gun out with the flashlight on. But it's a very, very different game. Like this Doom 2016 is very much in line with the original Doom 1 and Doom 2, and Doom 3 is it's a very different. Like you spend the first like 35 minutes or so of Doom 3 in like an almost Half-Life style. Like you enter a facility and you see that things are like a bit broken and not going quite the way they should, and you like go and get your fucking like body armor and you get ready to go and have a day on the job as a Marine, and like you start to see that maybe some people are acting a bit weird because they're maybe actually demons, and then much like in Half-Life, as you go about your day, suddenly things go really bad, and then you're stuck in this facility trying to escape, and there's fucking zombies and shit exploding out of doors, and like Doom 3 has a lot of problems with. It's got a lot of like, it relies really heavily on monster closets. Like there are a lot of doors that are just empty rooms that exist only so that a monster can come out of it and behind you the moment you walk past it.
Yeah.
Am I right in thinking that all of like so was there like were all of the original Doom games like continuations of each other?
So
or were they just standalone?
Doom 1 and 2 are.
Okay.
Doom 3 is like a soft reboot kind of thing, right?
Yeah. And then this is also a soft reboot, but this is a soft reboot in a way that presents a mythology that implies that maybe all the Doom games are linked through like a parallel universe or something. I don't know.
Like a kind of like a Hero of Time-esque thing, but a Hero of Demon Slaying.
Yeah, like very much like a Hero of Time, or almost like a BioShock Infinite. Like there's always a Martian base, there's always a Doomslayer. Yeah. Like the same thing happens in all these different parallel dimensions, where there's like an infinite number of parallel dimensions, but all of them involve demons and this Doomslayer and him going to hell and killing people. Yeah,
the whole point of the Doomslayer in this one is that he was imprisoned in hell, right?
Yes,
because he's previously doomed it up.
Yeah.
So like. I get that implies that it's happened already, doesn't it? I mean,
yeah,
that's the whole.
Yeah. So it's I don't know. It is cool. I was wondering what you guys thought about sort of the overall plot of this game and what it tries to do. Like it isn't plot heavy by any stretch, but there is enough there about sort of they flesh out the facility on Mars and like the facility on Mars and its relationship to Hell better than any previous Doom games, and also obviously as we just said they flesh out the Doom Marine in a way that is kind of mad considering it is a Doom game. And so I was sort of wondering what you guys thought about that. Do you think like it's not enough story, maybe actually too much story? Like
I feel like going into it as someone who doesn't really have much experience with any of the previous games in the Doom franchise, it felt like it was good. It felt like it had the correct level of story and partnered with that fast-paced action, which I think, like you say, Doom has previously done that so well. Sometimes maybe it falls flat, but I feel like this one has got a perfect balance of story and putting you in the action, but also keeping you aware of what's going on.
Did you guys use the codex very often, and like look at the little bits of like flavor text it would give you about areas and monsters and stuff?
Yeah,
That's the thing. I didn't look at that, and I think a big part of they seem to do almost in a like one of the big complaints about Destiny 1 at least was that a lot of the story comes in the grimoire, right? So they've just written a bunch of stuff, and it's really cool, and it's like there's definitely an in-depth backstory that they've developed, but it's never presented to you. And I feel like for Doom, that's actually okay, like you're saying, Jack. It's a good balance what they've got, but at the same time, it's almost like when I'm sat down to play Doom, I'm not feeling reading.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is fair.
Yeah.
They don't really go together. So I feel it seems a little bit like a strange kind of thing. Like I wouldn't mind if it was just like every so often someone's just talking while you're killing things, because I mean balance that with the sick ass soundtrack because you don't want to miss out, but you also don't want like if it just meant that it was Sam Hayden talking to you all the time, I wouldn't mind because
his voice is so fucking good.
Voice.
Yeah. I would have liked a bit more story, I think. Well, I'm the kind of guy who really enjoys like Uncharted type games where there's like really slow sessions with lots of exposition. So Doom is lacking in story, and I started reading about all the backstory of it just this morning because it's so interesting. So the Doom guy is some kind of UAC Marine from a parallel universe, right? And he's being locked away in hell, and then they found it in this universe, and Samuel Hayden hid him away in that tombstone that you woke up from.
Yeah. You were locked in the sarcophagus in that tombstone.
Yeah.
And Olivia Price found the tombstone, and Hayden just hid the whole sarcophagus away, as opposed to hiding you in it, I think.
Yeah. Sorry, that's what I meant. Yeah. And then he woke you up because everything's gone to shit, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Basically. And I think that while that is their sort of explanation to keep it simple, because there's not really much of it's just like, we just had you hidden and woke you up because everything's gone crazy. It's also, it's their way of not including much story, but also at the same time makes me want to hear what's going on.
Yeah, exactly.
There's a little bit too much mystery to it. In that it's just like, I want to know more. That's really cool. Yeah,
that's it. Yeah, that led me to reading more about it. And there's not much more to read about it because there isn't anymore. That's all people know.
Yeah, like so much of the story, I guess, comes from it. You get like the overarching plot there, and even then, a lot of the plot you just described, you only really get if you listen to the codec recordings in Hell.
Yeah.
Like if you don't actually take the time to just like stop and listen to those or read them after the fact, you miss a lot of that and what that actually means and implies for the overarching plot.
Yeah.
But I think there is, as you said, Dylan, like and it is a bit like that Destiny situation where the game gives you enough that you go, okay, well, I sort of know what I've got to do, and then you crack on with it, and it sort of explains Argent and these other bits that like you need to get to the next bit and sort of get the overarching plot of what you're doing. But then if you want to understand a bit more about the facility and what they do and who these characters are, you have to go into the codec and you have to read that and you have to infer things from that and understand a bit more about like there is an awful lot of stuff around the edges of the UAC facility and like the Lazarus labs and how they operate, but you only get that by going and reading like codec entries about the fucking cyber demon or about Olivia Price and things like that, and you have to try and infer that kind of stuff. So I think it gives you a little bit, and then you can get a tiny bit more if you want it, but it definitely doesn't like layer on a story. I don't know. I wonder if there's room for it in that. Or I wonder if there's room for a story in the kind of experience they're trying to give, you know?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think it would be very easy to mess everything up if they did. But it does... I think almost the game itself doesn't have enough room for the story, but it creates that room post-game, if you know what I mean. If you'd had that story in the game, I think it could have potentially ruined it. But by playing it, enjoying the experience, and then realizing after it's kind of like, oh, now I actually want a little bit more. They've made that space for, like, the opportunity to have more stuff, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to jump immediately ahead, but like the game does end by setting up a sequel,
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
and it sets up a sequel that would, in a lot of ways, seem to follow the same story arc as Doom 2 did to Doom. I guess, like some of the inferences that like Hayden gives you about like him going to Earth and sending you back to hell, and there's definitely room there for like, okay, well, Doom they're all on Mars in Doom, and then you go to hell, and then in Doom 2 you go to hell, and then you go to Earth, and then you go to hell again to fight John Romero's head or something dumb like that. The end of Doom 2 is weird, but yeah, there's definitely room there for them to be like, okay, we've earned your trust here by going, look, we've made Doom, and it's not Doom 3, and it's not Doom 4 that was cancelled. It's this thing that's got the spirit of Doom 1 while modernising things, and it's cool.
Yeah.
And we've put in these bits around the edges. Do you now trust us to apply all of this shit to a good plot that brings in more stuff? Because there's no reason why a Doom 2 couldn't do Mars and Earth and Hell and that conflict with Samuel Hayden and expand that out while having this same gameplay, right?
Yeah, I think you make a good point, actually. It's like, even though this was a full game, it's almost like a demo to be just like, we're not going to ruin the story this time, don't worry, and we're not going to ruin it at all. But here's a little taster of what this story is going to be, just so you don't tell us we're being unfaithful to the game or whatever. It's like you said, I think it's a precursor. It's a, don't worry guys, we've got it. We realised that Doom 3 wasn't what you wanted.
Yeah, and it's establishing that trust and just going, look at what we've done. And also, it is the stuff they do with the story, however small, as we have said, the concept of the Doomslayer as this character that sits between dimensions in hell and does all this other stuff is a really, really clever way to reconcile making a fourth Doom, calling it Doom, and having 3 different timelines of Doom.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That would be good.
You know, like this is the 3rd separate beginning of Doom, and this has managed to reconcile all of those in its own way, just by making the main character an interdimensional badass.
And like, yeah, I'm no, ignore me. I was going to say something completely irrelevant, just going round in point there. But yeah, no, I agree. They've set up a really good basis of what they can keep going forward with, I think. Also, I kind of want to just know more about Hayden.
Yeah.
So that's what I was going to say. I've written this down. Like, isn't Hayden just the fucking coolest?
Because I was reading about this as well, and because I realised I hadn't finished and couldn't finish it because I'm away now, I spoiled the game for myself and then just read up a bunch.
Right.
And
okay.
the fact that Hayden doesn't seem to have loads more about him other than what's there, but like, he had brain cancer, so he just made himself a sick ass robot.
Yeah, like
That's
they
pretty
put that in the codec, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, I read that, yeah.
Huh?
Yeah, and the robot is huge.
Yeah, sorry, my thing's just going a bit. I can't.
Yeah, you don't really like understand how big he is until you actually finally meet him in the Lazarus lab, and you're like, "Damn, this dude is fucking tall."
Because I feel like you get the codec entry that says that he makes himself a 3-meter high robot body before you meet him, and then you meet him and you're like, oh no, they meant he's a 3-meter high robot. Fuck.
I wonder if he was actually just a short ass in real life. I say in real life. His original body. He's just super insecure about it. So it's like, you know what, guys? Fuck you. I'm a huge robot now. What are you going to do about it?
Yeah. Did you... So his name is Samuel Hayden, which is S. Hayden, which kind of sounds a bit like Satan.
Yeah.
And
Oh my God.
he does double cross you at the end of that game.
But he's a good dude, though. He's supplying energy to the whole solar system.
His intentions are pretty pure, to be fair. Well, they're probably money-based, a little bit. But, I mean, he's getting a lot of energy for humans. That's good.
Yeah, just through weird means of getting it from hell.
Doesn't necessarily mean that there's not a ulterior motive, though. I could see him being evil. He's an evil-sounding guy, you know?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
But, I mean, again, maybe that's something we'll find out more about. There's definitely a lot there to work on, to build off of. Because, I mean, look at us fucking creaming over him. And it's just a 3-meter high robot that sounds a bit like Satan.
I'm actually imagining how he would look like as a Doom boss. Because we had Olivia Pierce change into a spider thing, right?
Yeah.
I don't know if she changes into that spider thing or if she just gets eaten by it.
She transforms into a spider.
Does she?
That's what the internet says. She transforms into the monstrous spider mastermind.
Okay, because there's some bits in the codec about the cyber demon that implies that the cyber demon's being controlled by some kind of mastermind. And the spider mastermind is sort of a known quantity in Doom lore, like it's the final boss of the first Doom as well.
Yeah.
And so my read on it was that she gets destroyed by the spider mastermind. I didn't quite read. Okay, cool. If the internet says it, I believe that. The internet doesn't usually lie to me.
I've never once been lied to by the internet.
It's true. I mean, do you see yourself finishing it, Dylan? Going back and finishing it?
Yeah, definitely. So I do. It's what I was saying about the not being drawn back to it. It's just that sort of. To be fair, it might just be that I've been more busy than I used to be, so I don't get that as much anymore. But there's still I still want to play it. It's still that kind of thing that I want to get back to and play eventually. It just doesn't have that immediate impulse. But I'll definitely finish it, because I mean, I don't think I'm super far from the end at this point.
No, you've got probably 4 levels left.
Yeah.
You're about 2/3 of the way through,
I figured it was 2/3, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, they've split it into Mars, Hell on Mars, right? So.
Yeah.
And then hell again.
Yeah, the game finishes with you going back to hell.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, I guess before I do kind of want to jump into some of the gameplay stuff and like some of the level design and stuff like that. But still going about the sort of the overall tone of it. What do you as we said, it's got a bit of an attitude, and part of that attitude, I think, is it has, at least I thought, like kind of a surprising sense of humour to it. Like, I don't know if you guys found the you find the Doom guy figure in like the second level, that when you find it, the Doom Marine picks his little arm up and then fist bumps it.
Yeah. There's definitely a sort of awareness by the creators that you can tell that it's made by people who are just having fun with it. If you like, they're making something they want to make, and I think you can tell because it's probably easy to sit through. Well, not easy, but it's probably possible to sit through making a game, and just because you've not really got any love for it or want to be doing it, you're not going to put in all those fun little things, are you? But there's loads of little bits about Doom that just feel like someone's just thrown it in for a laugh or to make it just a bit quirky. And there's, I think you're right. It definitely has a sense of humor to it that, even though it's not like immediate in your face funny, it's just nice to have, you know.
Like you might not have got to this. You won't. In fact, I don't think you would have got to this bit, Dylan. I think you're just before this bit actually. But when you get the BFG, and you get the BFG by picking up someone's dismembered torso with a head attached to it, and then holding up this bloody like head and torso stump to an eye scanner, so that you can get into the room to get. And you do that at a different time as well when you like go and pick up someone's dismembered arm, and use that to open a door too.
Yeah.
And it's like just this weird through line of you using actual human body parts to get stuff. So, I don't know.
I mean, and it does that quite early on as well, doesn't it? You're sort of immediately dealing with human body parts.
Yeah.
So it's, I think it's definitely, it's, what am I trying to say? What are the words I'm looking for? It's, yeah, well, I mean, I've said it already. It's not in your face with the humour, but that through line, like you say, they're perfectly aware of what they've got is this completely over the top gore fest, and there's really only two ways you can go with that: it'd be funny with the gore, or just kind of be disgusting.
Yeah, and let's be real here. This video game is disgusting.
Oh yeah, it's very uneasy.
Like you shove your armoured fist into a lot of flesh holes in this game in a way that is like quite off-putting.
You rip and tear a lot of things.
Rip and tear. Oh man. The glory kills are amazing.
Yeah, so what are people's opinions on the glory kills?
I feel like they, to some extent, they get repetitive after a while, but I guess that's I don't know. I guess the game creators must have known going into the game that it was going to be a bit repetitive. I
think that's why they start throwing so many different enemies at you, though.
So
that you can chain a bunch of glory kills without getting tired of them, because you're not. Like, I do agree with you. They, because like each enemy has a few different glory kills.
Yeah.
But some of them are just a lot harder to do, so you end up doing mostly the same ones. At least I found.
Yeah.
Because it depends on which part of the body you're pointing at when you hit the glory kill button.
Yeah.
Yes,
So like the challenges tell you, don't they? Because sometimes you've got to do, for a level, you need to like death from above so many hellraisers or whatever, and it'll say how to do it. Or like sweep the leg is one of them that I remember seeing. But those ones are obviously, it's like you point at the leg, which is a significantly smaller part than the entire chest, especially on like the fucking big boys.
Yeah.
Big boys, yes.
It's and so I agree with you, Jack. It's there were times where I felt like the glory kills were just getting a little bit. Oh, this is the best way to kill you, but I'm so bored.
Yeah.
And
Which
also,
I don't.
you need it for health. Sorry.
Yeah, exactly. Like you need to do it, don't you?
Yeah. So here's a question. Actually, I've been mulling over. I think links into the glory kill question. What difficulty do you guys play on?
I think I did Hurt Me Plenty.
Yeah, I think I did Hurt Me Plenty.
Same, yeah. So
I played it. So this is my second time playing this game through. I completed it when it first came out. Pretty from looking at when I last played that other campaign, like Save Slot 1 or whatever it was. I completed it about a month after it came out. And I played it the first time I played it through. I played it in Ultraviolence, which is the one above Hurt Me Plenty.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so I played it through Hurt Me Plenty this time. And just sort of like ran through it. I just wondered what it was like. Like I didn't go for like the first time I went through it. I think I got all but like one of the collectibles and secrets as well. Like I really went. I think my playthrough for the first time was like 19 hours, and this one was more like 8 or something because I ran through it. But I don't think that it's as good a game in Hurt Me Plenty. I actually think that it's not that good at all.
Oh, really?
Until like the last 3 levels, maybe the last 4 levels, until you go back to hell and you go to the Titan realm. I didn't think it was as fun in any way at all.
As in just what? As in like the difficulty of it, or
I think it was. So this is why it links into the glory kills. From the and you play in Ultraviolence, it's hard enough that from the moment you start playing, you have to engage with all of the mechanics in the game.
Yeah.
You have to be using every single weapon, all of their attachments. You have to be getting those glory kills. You have to be upgrading all of your runes and using the runes to their full effectiveness. You have to be using the chainsaw all the time. You have to be so on the ball from the word go. And playing a Hurt Me Plenty, I didn't get that experience at all until probably the Titan realm, when it started actually making me have to work for it. And up until then, I didn't really have to. I don't want to sound like I'm bragging, but I didn't really have to try in a lot of the combat. I was playing really, really sloppily, and maybe doing a glory kill every now and then, and it wasn't really pushing me. But when you play it in Ultraviolence, and I think this is because it's part of a comment you made, Dylan, when we were talking about this tangentially a while ago, which was, well, the game is just a series of rooms which you fight dudes in, and then you move on to the next room.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, it is just that. And if the combat isn't engaging, then that isn't a good structure. And I found playing in Ultraviolence, I was so much more engaged in sort of the dance that Doom asks you to do from the word go, that like every single combat encounter was like joyous.
Yeah.
And playing in Hurt Me Plenty, there were times that it was just like, why do I have to destroy all 3 of these gore nests? These fights aren't even that hard. I'm just gonna like stand in the corner and use the fucking rocket attachment for the heavy assault rifle and just kill everyone, and then I'm just gonna move on to the next one. I don't know.
Maybe that's why I had that whole. I've had this feeling of not wanting to go back to it, because I've been playing. I exactly what you mean. I've had that feeling of, why am I doing this room? Because the next room is going to be the same. I'm going to be just killing more of the same demons. And there are points where I just stand there with a rocket launcher and fire it into them, because you can. So maybe I need to give it a go on Ultraviolence instead. It's so
different on Ultraviolence. It's something that I would never ever ever have guessed about, because I loved the way it played so much on Ultraviolence. I played it that first time. Yeah. I'd never have guessed that playing it a second time on Hurt Me Plenty, just to get through it and be like, oh, this isn't when the combat isn't pushing you and you don't have to engage with it fully. It becomes quite rote. Whereas when the combat pushes you, suddenly you're like, every single room you walk in, and like, I remember doing it, you'd walk into a room and you'd immediately see all the loops and paths that you were going to have to run to survive. And like, I remember playing it on Ultraviolence, like I'd got all the runes that I wanted and tuned them so that it was like, I could glory kill from further away. Glory kills made me run faster, and enemies stayed in like the glory killable state for longer.
Yeah.
To the point where like I'd start doing those, I'd get up so much speed, and then I'd get like a haste power up, and I'd be moving so quickly in like these huge loops and like leaping across the entire map and like switching between weapons and just wrecking shop, and it was incredible. And it was like the only way I could beat some of those fights was just being faster than everything else in the game.
Yeah.
And I never had the need to engage in any of that on regular difficulty, and I thought that was kind of disappointing in a way, because it felt like that was an experience that was so quintessentially Doom to me, and you don't get it if you play it on Hurt Me Plenty.
Which is a shame, especially since it's essentially the normal mode, right? It's the
it's the recommended.
Which is kind of like, are they? If the real game really is the ultra-violence version, even if it's a bit too hard for some people, maybe it should still be the recommended version, and then it lightens up if you can't manage it, you can turn it off, and you'd probably still end up actually having the fun with it, because if you can't manage ultra-violence and you have to play Hurt Me Plenty, then it's going to be hard enough for you to enjoy it, right?
Yeah.
And like, don't get me wrong, beating the Spider Mastermind on ultra violence took me like an hour. I died constantly.
Oh, yeah.
Like there were some bits in that game on ultra violence near the end that were too hard.
Yeah.
But for the first 10 levels out of like 12 or whatever, the difficulty of ultra violence forced me to engage with the glory kills and the runes and the chainsaw and all the different weapon attachments, and understanding why you'd need to use all the different weapon attachments at different points way, way more. And it made it like a way more complete combat experience. And on Hurt Me Plenty, I didn't feel that it was that.
Okay.
I'm with you, I think, because the game isn't really very difficult until very close to the end, I think. The 3 bits that I remember near the end is you have 3 things to destroy just before you get to the end. Yeah. And for all 3 of those things is 3 huge arenas that you fight in, isn't it?
Yeah, and they give you like... They basically throw all of the hard enemies at you, don't they?
Yeah,
they give you all of the enemies up until that point that you've seen, and you just throw them at you, and you're just like, well, I don't know how to deal with this. I need to be on the ball, running away from them constantly, whilst also trying to deal with this situation.
Yeah, and that had my heart going. That was a lot. that was a lot of stress. And not counting the final boss. So it's just. It requires you to be creative with the gameplay, isn't it? It's not something you just hide behind corners and shoot. It's just something you have to be on the ball, moving a lot all the time, and yeah, I guess they have to cater for people who come in from corridor shooters for the recommended normal difficulty. So that's why they probably didn't go with the higher recommendation.
Yeah, totally. And like, I mean, I think that's they because of I think that's a really good point, sure. I think because of the fact that you will have people coming into Doom who have either never played one of those classic 90s first-person shooters that plays almost exactly like Doom, or haven't played it since the 90s. Yeah. They have to sort of train them back up to that, so they don't give you those really crazy arenas where it starts off with like a few enemies and then it just gets harder and harder and harder until at the end they split. Like, I think, isn't those one of those last ones like 4 cyber mancubuses and also like a bunch of hell knights and like 2 barons of hell all at the same time?
Yeah.
And they're just like crack on. Yeah, and it's like huge swarms of like really powerful enemies, and you have to engage with it. And I think like that feeling you described there, Chor, of like your heart racing and you just being like, I can't fucking blink, because if I blink, I'm gonna miss something. I'm gonna miss an imp throwing something, and I'm just gonna get fucking done.
Yeah, and this is me at like 12:30 at night.
Yeah, I think I don't know. It is just a weird rant that I have about this game and the way that it makes you engage with it. And I just found that you could totally, you can engage with it less so on the lesser difficulties, and I thought that was kind of a bummer.
Yeah.
Speaking of the Spider Master, oh, sorry, Dylan, you going to say?
No, go ahead.
I was just going to say, like, I don't know if you can talk to this, Dylan, but I was going to say, speaking of the Spider Mastermind, what do you guys think of the 3 boss fights in the game?
So you had the Spider Mastermind at the end,
yeah,
and then you had like, what is it? They're not Hell Knights, are they? What are they called? Those where you have like
they're Hell Guards.
Yeah,
where you have one of them and then you have 2 of them come at you.
Yeah,
that was a surprise.
Yeah, I killed the first guy on his own. I was like, yeah. And then it's like, okay, now you've got two of them. What the fuck do I do? It did take me some time to. I think I had like a couple of deaths at that part, and I was like, right, I need to sit down. I think that what it was I died a couple of times, and I was like, right. It was getting late in the evening. I'm not in the right state of mind. I've got work in the morning. I need to like sit down when I don't have work to play this.
Started to put you on tilt, just like
for sure.
I'm just going to keep dying now. I've lost it.
But
and then obviously you have the cyber demon fight as well.
Yeah,
which is pretty epic.
Yeah, I think all of the boss fights in it are they're pretty good. I mean. The Spider Mastermind at the end of the game got as you can imagine, being the final boss. Yeah, as you can imagine, it did take me I'd say a good couple of tries to finally figure out. Okay, so I've got to jump over these lasers, and then when they raise up the platforms, I've got to make sure that I'm not getting myself electrocuted on the floor. Then as soon as they stop, do all of this stuff, and yeah, it did take some figuring out.
And the spikes, you have to watch out for the fucking spikes.
Yeah, man,
that killed me once, and I just wanted to finish that fight because I know that's it. That's the end. That's the end of the game. Yeah, the spikes got me and it pissed me off. But you have to use the BFG a lot in that fight thing because they spawn the BFG ammo, right? There's two of them.
Yeah.
At least in Happy Plenty.
I remember that being the same. And I think in Ultraviolence, because I remember there are a few fights where I was like, oh wow, I didn't expect them to spawn in that many enemies on Hurt Me Plenty, and I think the game play balance in terms of enemies and ammo when going up to Ultraviolence is the same. I just think you take more damage and enemies do more damage.
Okay.
Or enemies have more health or something. You take more damage and give less damage, whichever one of those makes more sense. Yeah, but I know the boss fights are all right. I like a lot of I like and play the Doom games, and so I have a history with the series.
Yeah,
and so one of those bosses that you mentioned, the Hell Guard, I think they're part of a weird thing I've noticed with this game, which is, I don't know about you guys, but I think the 3 enemy designs that are completely unique to this game, I don't think they're very good.
They're quite almost a cliche, because obviously it's demons. They're super, like basic demon-y.
Yeah, like I could be wrong on this, but I think the only enemies in this game that haven't been in another Doom game in some form, and the Hell Knight might be a different one of this, but the Hell Knight looks a lot like the imps from the Doom film. Okay. So I think that sort of counts. But I think the 3 that seem to be unique are the Summoner, the Hellraiser, and the Hellguard. And I don't think they've been in any previous Doom games. And I just don't think they look as good as the other enemy designs. I just think I think the Hellraiser especially is just a bit. He looks like he's out of fucking Destiny or something.
It's the end thing at the moment, clearly.
Yeah.
Or like Mass Effect enemy.
Summoner is the floaty lady, right?
Yeah.
Super annoying.
Yeah.
Like the Hellraiser. I think you're right. The Hellraisers at least feel completely out of place. Every time you see them, it's just like, this doesn't. They look like they're meant to be way harder. Because obviously they come in, like the 3rd sort of enemy you face, really.
Yeah.
And they're meant to be like a step up, and then they're just kind of easy.
So they're the laser dudes, right?
Yeah.
And
And they die really easily, and the lasers are easy to not get hit by. And I know what you mean. They just look out of place. The summoners I thought were kind of cool, but I mean, you never get that much of a look at them, do you?
Because they're always flying around.
Yeah. And I think they're all right, but they're nothing special. Kind of stupid looking. But I've not seen the Hellguard, I don't think.
Yeah, I don't think you would
Weirdly
have got
enough,
that
I'm
far.
Yeah, all the boss fights I think are at the end, aren't they? So
Yeah, that's one thing I didn't like. They didn't pace out the boss fights. They just lumped in at the end.
I was
don't know
feeling
what's
that while
about.
I was playing it, just like there's not been any. It's just, which is part of that whole room to room feeling. It's just killing more enemies in each room. There wasn't any boss fights for the bits I played. So like you get to the end. You say I've not actually got much left, and it doesn't feel like I've got much left. I think there's like 4 levels, like you said. That's 3 boss fights in 4 levels.
Well, I think the first boss fight is at the end of the level you're on.
Yeah,
Yeah, because it's the cyber demon is in the Lazarus Labs, right? That's the
yeah.
that's the whole point of a cyber demon.
Then you fight the Hellguards at the end of the Necropolis, which is from the Lazarus Labs. You go into Titan Realm, and then you go into Necropolis. You fight the Hellguard. You come out of it. Then you go back into Hell, and then you fight the Spider Mastermind. So yeah, in from Lazarus to the end of it, that's 5 levels, and it just alternates: boss fight, no boss fight, boss fight, no boss fight, boss fight.
Yeah, which is just a bit much, really.
Yeah.
But the whole thing, I felt this basically every step of the way, is that it ramps up very well, but it constantly feels like what you've just played is the demo for what you're about to play. Because like you get a new weapon and you're like, okay, this is like it feels like I'm getting into it now, and then you get another new weapon and it's like, well, now it still feels just like I've just been practicing for, and then you kind of have, but it does feel like it was just like, okay, now you know what you're doing, here's the game. And I feel like a game shouldn't feel like that constantly.
But I don't know. I like it. It keeps it fresh. It just keeps ramping up. It keeps going, and it's not like you have everything now. Now you get to do all these things. It's just that you're constantly doing new things and exploring new things, and that's
that
really
is
nice.
good.
And I guess it's not even really till you fight the Cyber Demon that you have, because you get the BFG in the Lazarus Labs. I think that is the last weapon you get.
Yeah.
And then by that point, all you really have left to do is just like unlock weapon mods, and then by that point you've already got most of the weapon mods anyway. So it's like unlock weapon expansions using the upgrade points and like improve your runes and stuff. So I think it is maybe even a weird thing where a lot of games do that learning ramp quite early on, and then the gameplay is about there, and you plateau in terms of the experience, and you get better and it gets harder. But this kind of just keeps introducing more and more enemies and like enemy types and weapon types until about that Cyber Demon fight, and then like the last like 4 levels of the game, it just goes, well, now you've got all the weapons, you've seen all the enemies we have to offer apart from some boss fights. We're just going to give you some really hard challenge rooms to fight in, and you're going to have to. And I think that might even be why it didn't really feel like I was utilizing the full scope of the game's like arsenal and gameplay until I got to that last point again in this Hurt Me Plenty run.
You're still getting there, yeah.
Yeah, because it didn't get to that point. It did, and it wasn't challenging enough before that, because it was still just going, here's more enemies, here's because also it's like, is it like the Foundry? It's like the 3rd level where it gives you your first Hell Knight, and they just fuck you up, and it's a really, really hard fight. And then, like, by the end of it, you're fighting like 6 at a time, and it's not even a fucking problem.
The room where you had to kill them with glory kill from above.
Yeah.
That basically sealed it. They're just easy now.
Yeah, it got to a point where like, oh, sorry, no.
You just pump rockets into them and then hit them with a glory kill.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You never really worry because they stun quite easily, don't they? So it's from the sounds of it, what you're saying about these last few levels I've got left to do, I'm kind of right. At least in the Hurt Me Plenty version, it is a tutorial up until the game, and then those last 4 levels are the full game, and that's not a bad thing because, like you were saying, Sean, the ramp up is nice. It feels like it's constantly quite fresh, but also for what you were saying, Mark, it just gives you kind of a fun final few levels, doesn't it? Especially if you're quite good at the games like you are. So
yeah, second time through, obviously playing it on PC, so I've got mouse look, which is like mouse look is a huge advantage in something like this as well.
Yeah.
And so yeah, I don't know. I didn't necessarily feel I was hugely challenged until those last few levels. And the problem is because it is a game that, as we've said, doesn't have much of a story. There isn't a huge variety to the gameplay apart from the combat, which it is very varied, but it is just combat.
Yeah.
If the combat isn't challenging you and not asking you to use its full breadth, then it doesn't necessarily actually do much until it does that, until it pushes you and says, no, now we're going to put you in this arena and we're going to just spawn in loads of fucking barons of hell and cyber mancubuses and cacodemons, and you're just going to have to deal with it. Crack on. all the times where it goes, here's all these bad guys, here's a berserk power up, you've got 30 seconds to punch everything to death.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was one of the things that I think we mentioned at the beginning as well. With you were talking about the mouse look part. I think that changes it a lot as well. Because I don't know, Jack, how you felt about this, but there were lots of times where I felt the controller's not precise enough.
No, not at all.
Speed of the game. There are so many points where I was trying to kill something, and it just wasn't quite good enough to, especially with the flying ones.
Yeah.
With the fucking ball dudes.
Cacodemons.
They're really annoying to hit.
Ball dudes.
Because you want to... They're not that hard to kill, but the controller's just... I don't know, because you want to be moving around, and it's just not precise enough. The controller I did find actually really annoyed me quite a few times. And I feel like having a mouse would make it way more fun.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think there is something to be said about the precision of the controller in Doom, especially like you say, this is a game where you don't want to have to worry about trying to line up your cursor exactly with where you want to shoot, because, the more time you take doing that, the more enemies are going to come at you. So you want to be able to kill things as quick as possible. Yeah. And I did feel, at some points in the game, it was a bit lacking in terms of, in terms, again, agreeing with you, Dylan. These enemies aren't hard enemies to kill. It's just sometimes it frustrates you because you can't do what you want to do as quick as you want to do it.
Yeah, there were a few times where I was just like, well, I'm just going to sacrifice some health so I can aim at this guy who's a bit far away.
Yeah.
Because I would, if it was one of the fucking laser guys, I'd have to let him hit me so I could shoot him from far away, because I can't be bothered running over just to kill him. There's no other enemies over there, and he's just annoying. So I'll just stop, shoot him, and then carry on. Whereas if I wasn't using a controller, it might be fine.
Yeah, I think I would be curious to know if you guys ever get a chance to play the PC version. And obviously, if Dylan, if you're ever down here, you can happily have a crack on the PC version of my PC, because I would be interested to know if it does feel better.
Yeah.
Because it is a game that is so much about being quick and running in these loops and keeping your track of everything, that I think if you can't do that fast enough, I can see why that would be hard. I can see why that would definitely also maybe take something away from the experience.
Yeah. There's still something to it. There's still there, but I do think you can kind of tell that it's not meant to be that. It's not meant to be that feel to it. It's not that they've done something wrong, it's just that I think they intended the game for PC, really.
Do you know if you can change the field of view
sense.
in the console version?
I have no idea.
Okay. Because that plays a big part as well. Just seeing more. Just seeing more.
I mean, probably, right? You can get a VR version of Doom now. They'd probably be able to change the field of view.
Yeah, maybe. But that's a different thing, right? the VR tech. So.
Doom VFR is like a series of, it's like the Rune levels almost.
Oh, really? Okay.
Like it's a series of smaller combat challenges. It's not just like playing Doom in VR. Mostly because I'm fairly certain that would make literally everybody vomit immediately.
This is why I'm still waiting for VR Titanfall. I want to be ejected and vomit everywhere.
Oh, that'd be so good. I just want that. I just want someone to make a VR experience which you sit down in your desk chair and it's literally you in a desk chair and then you fucking smash the space bar and you just go exploding into the sky. I just want to know how bad that would feel.
I just want... It is a curiosity thing, isn't it? It's kind of like, I know it would be bad. Like, how bad could it actually be? It's VR. It's not real, but I want to know.
Like I heard that kind of VR thing actually described as being a bit like Chuck Yeager, like a VR test pilot, just trying to push the envelope, go as far as you can.
Yeah.
It's like just like breaking the sound barrier just because you fucking can, and just going, yeah, okay, I'll do this. I'll get on a crazy fucking loop-to-loop corkscrew roller coaster in VR that goes backwards. Sure. What's the worst that could happen? I'm not actually going to die. I'm just going to get a bit sick. Maybe.
They have those in real life, right?
What, roller coasters?
No. They put a VR goggle and they let you go on a roller coaster. I've seen it.
Yeah, you can get VR roller coasters that are VR roller coasters and also a real roller coaster at the same time.
Yeah.
Oh god, imagine if it was like every time the roller coaster went right in VR, it went left.
Imagine if it was actually all exactly right, but just like a second out of sync.
Oh, you'd have to hand out
man.
raincoats at the beginning, wouldn't you? It's like everyone has to put on this poncho before you go on.
You will be covered in vomit. Just prepare yourself now. It's like,
This is the
but wait a
smelliest roller coaster.
How often do you clean down these VR headsets? Often enough.
Often enough to pass health code, not often enough to make you happy.
Yeah. God. I feel like often enough to pass health code would definitely have to be every single time.
I saw actually it was this VR demo that you put the headset on. This is just so off topic, but we'll go back to do it in a second. This VR demo that you put the helmet on, and then you sit on an exercise bicycle. And then the exercise bicycle, it takes the inputs from the bicycle so that you can ride a bike in VR while you're actually like pedaling and turning a bike.
Ah.
But obviously, because you're then moving around inside a digital world, if something in the digital world, say, causes you to stop suddenly, but you're still pedaling and have the sensation of sort of moving forward in your entire body. I saw they were playing it on Giant Bomb, and everyone who did it would like hit this wall and then immediately just like scream and rip the headset off and just like sit down like, no, I can't do it anymore. I almost threw up. That was terrible. I want that. I just want to see how far you can go.
Yeah, I want to have that experience. Out of body experience, I guess.
Yeah, man. Yeah, right. I'm just looking through my list of notes for Doom. Anything that we haven't spoken about that I think's worth talking about. What you got, Jack?
I think one thing that I sort of found put me in the mood for Doom is just the soundtrack to that game. It's insane. Like when you're playing that game, and when you destroy one of the, I guess it's like the heart of one of those like orb things. And then all the enemies start spawning on you, and then right? And then it like the soundtrack, the calm. I say calm in a looser sense, but just the regular soundtrack stops, and then a new rocking guitar solo comes on, and you're like, "Well, shit's about to go down."
Yeah,
and the soundtrack is so fucking good.
Yeah,
it's just madness.
It's awesome.
Yeah, it's like, shout out, credit where credit's due, Mick Gordon. Dude, god fucking damn, yeah, what an incredible soundtrack. He does the soundtrack for the Wolfenstein games as well, for the new Machine Games Wolfenstein games. That's him.
Have you seen his, he did like I can't remember where it was, but I think it was at some kind of video game / programming conference. And it was about him making the music for that game, and then talking about adding in those 666s. And so I don't know if you've seen, you probably have, but if you take the spectrograph or whatever not spectrograph, that's the wrong kind of thing. If you look at the sound waves of that in whatever system allows you to do that, you see 666 and like a pentagram.
No way.
And he got like so much shit from all these sort of super like alarmist newspapers just being like Doom hiding Satanist symbols in their music, and it's like, what have you played the game? It's not
like,
you're not hiding anything just because it says 666 in the. If you take the time to look at that part of the music, it's just like,
I like the idea. Like, yeah, obviously, that's the least alarming thing in that entire video game.
it's just literally a game full of hell things. How is the 666 the worst part they've found? But his talk he gives is actually really quite interesting. Talking about all this stuff and how he did it. And, man, you can tell he loved making that.
It's because it's just so fucking metal. Like, there's not a single song. Like, I'm not even. I like. It's like a bit too metal for me. But even like now, I'll still put on the fucking YouTube playlist of this soundtrack and just listen to it. And it's like, fucking yeah, I want to kill something.
Wait, maybe they were right about the Satanism.
Oh yeah, maybe.
Yeah. I want to give a shout out to the sound effects as well. Especially when you're doing the rune challenges, the countdown sound is extremely aggravating, and it just stresses you out so much.
It's really effective.
Yeah. I've never been so stressed in my life in a game.
Those rune things are super annoying. Some of them are like really easy. Like the first few where it's just kill a bunch of things with the gun is fine. But the one where you start with 1 health.
Oh, yeah.
It's all really easy up until... Like especially, I'm fairly certain they make it harder the more times you die, because the first few times I was getting through fine, and then I'd be hit by the charging guy, and I found like those last 2 dudes on it just a bit hard. But then they started randomly spawning the enemies, so there'd be a pattern at the beginning, and I got used to it, and I knew it. And then maybe this is why they change it. But it would only be that the first 2 really easy enemies would appear in the same place, and then sometimes you'd run to go over and kill them. And another enemy had spawned there as well, and you're just fucked, because it's like, oh god, I didn't see you there before. And that one took me stupidly long because of that, because just occasionally I'd be hit by something in a completely different direction. And, that I agree, sure, the sound effects on that, I heard that specifically on that level, constantly, for like an hour.
It's like, I can still hear the ticking. Like, I turned the video game off hours ago, but it won't stop. Yeah, and like there are just some good hell noises in that game. Like, there's a lot of good noises, but like there's a lot of good growls and screams and a good blood dripping noises.
Oh yeah, the atmosphere.
And like there's that bit. There's that bit in the Foundry where you have to go into that really, really dark bit, and it's like the only part of the game that like things are actually dark and really tight corridors, and it's maybe a minute long, but it's really, really affecting because it's like you can hear the hissing of pipes, but also the hissing of like imps around the corner, and it's super fucking dark, and like it there is some excellent sound design in this game, 100%. And like also the fucking voice recording for demonic presence at unsafe levels. It's just fucking choice. That's so good.
Yeah.
I think all round it's just every part of it seems to be so well. Like, I mean, I remember especially when we first started playing it, you Chor going on the chat and just being like, it just looks so pretty.
Yeah,
it's just that kind of game that everything about it is. Everything's been done.
It's just tight. It's just smooth. It's just is right. You know when a game is right. You know it. It's yeah. It's one of those.
And, like, it runs well.
Yeah.
Like it's so well optimized. Like, I know, like, obviously on PC, like, basically any graphics card that's come out in the last, like, 6-7 years or so should be able to run it at 60 frames a second, like, no dramas.
Yeah.
And like, I know I believe the console versions of it also run at 60 FPS, don't they?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, like, it's just awesome that not only, because this is part of me that, like, id to me is associated with the people who made those engines that are so good that people still make games in those engines. Like, fucking Titanfall 2 was made in the Source engine, which is just a fork of Gold Source, which is just a fork of id Tech 3 or 2. So like there's still the DNA of id Tech games and how well optimized they are in video games that come out now. And it's just really fucking cool to me that id still made a game and it's like, yeah, this game looks great and it runs great, and fuck you. Like, it's cool. It's really cool that it just plays so nicely and so smooth and just runs well and everything.
Yeah, because you had it on the 144 hertz or 200 hertz or whatever ridiculous hertz you're on.
This monitor will turbo boost up to 165 hertz,
Okay.
and I had G-Sync on 165 hertz in the overclock, and I also had the FPS tracker up on the screen, the inbuilt one from Doom. And I don't think it goes higher than 200 frames a second, but it was reading 200 frames a second pretty constantly. This is fucking smooth. Yeah, like, it was crazy smooth. Apart from, like, 4 points in the game where you think it's you're in control, but really it's a pre-rendered cutscene, and it forces you to play in 60. That hurt. Because then it just had loads of screen tearing for some reason. Because I think my monitor kept trying to be like, no, go faster, and then it would just tear the screen up really badly. And so there's like a couple of points where you talk to or where you're really near Olivia Price, and when you meet Samuel Hayden, and at the end when you see Olivia Price before she turns into the Spider Mastermind, but not at the end when you see Samuel Hayden again. It would just drop to 60 frames a second, and just, like, the screen would tear up to shit for some reason, because I think those bits were actually pre-rendered cutscenes that it just, like, snuck into and then snuck back out of.
it's actually just a rip and tear Easter egg.
Yeah, maybe. Oh, no, that's actually get an achievement if you get all of the screen tearing.
If you managed for your screen to actually tear in two because of how high you'd got it, then that's an Easter egg. There's an achievement, even. Gamer score plus, like, 1 million.
Because you actually destroy something in real life.
Yeah. That would be... There's... Xbox are doing... I think at the moment, I don't know for how long, they're doing, like, a challenge where if your country, I think, gets the most gamer score, you're entered for a chance to win, like, a gold-plated Xbox One X. So, if you manage to get those gamer points, you'd really be helping us out on an Xbox.
God damn it. I don't want a gold Xbox One X. That sounds really gaudy.
That's fucking great.
It'll have very good heat management, for sure.
Will it?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Gold's got really good heat capacity, right?
Yeah.
Heat capacity. Yeah, heat capacity.
That's it.
Melts easy. Gets rid of that heat easy.
That doesn't sound good. You don't want it to melt.
It doesn't melt that easily.
You don't want your Xbox One to melt. That would suck.
It's only plated.
Okay. That sounds alright then.
And then, if you manage to play Doom so hard that you melt your entire Xbox, you win even more gamer points.
Like, my Xbox caught fire. That's the most hell thing I've ever heard.
I think they just like put you in the next Doom game. It's like, hot damn!
It's like,
You deserve
I'm that dude whose Xbox caught fire. Hi, Doom Marine.
It would be good to have a presence in the game as a torso that you get used by.
That would be quite cool.
Oh, yeah, that would be awesome.
Completely off topic to Doom, but related to what we just said. Do you remember? Mark, I know you'll remember it because we experienced it somewhat together. I don't know if you were involved, sure. Before Halo 5 came out, and there was that really cool ARG. They had the prize for this ARG was the winning team would be put into Halo 5. They'd be made as a team of Spartans and you'd be immortalized in Halo 5 forever. Never happened. I'm like 99% certain those Spartans are not in it. So not only was the story of that ARG completely unrelated, even though really cool, the prize that they offered you didn't happen. Which is just wonderful.
I was just going to ask, like, going back to Doom and the gameplay itself, did you guys have any particular favourite weapons that you sort of prefer to use above others? Obviously, you've got
Super
the BFG,
shotgun, obviously.
the BFG, which is the final gun that you unlock, which just kills everything that giant green orb flies past.
Yeah,
but yeah, I mean, you talk about the super shotgun. That was potentially one of the weapons that I guess I underappreciated it right until like the last couple of levels, and I was like, wait a minute, let me give this gun a shot. And yeah, I think it's a brilliant weapon.
It's a shame as well because that upgraded super shotgun is like even better, obviously. But I mean, it's just fucking intense.
Yeah, when you can fire it twice without reloading, and it's like I think you can actually. So yeah, super shotgun, so fucking good. And going back to that, when Hell Knights stopped being a threat, is when it got to the point where a Hell Knight would spawn, and instead of me backing up and shooting it, I'd just run at it and get the super shotgun out. And if you super shotgunned it point blank in the head, it would just go straight into the glory kill.
Oh man!
So you could just charge at it and then like blang, and then rip it apart. It's fucking awesome.
Yeah, before I could upgrade the super shotgun, I was doing the alternative mode for the shotgun, the normal shotgun, where you do the quick 3-shot into the Hell Knight, and that worked similarly, I think. And it's pretty neat too.
Yeah. Again, a hard thing to do on the Xbox with a controller because you don't have enough control over where you're shooting to keep that 3-shot accurate. So you can tell that it would be a great mod.
Yeah.
But it's actually kind of annoying because it's too hard to follow enemies.
Yeah. I see.
Yeah. Need to get myself a Elite controller.
You're gonna have to
make it possible.
Just no other recourse.
My favorite I think was the missile, the mini missiles for the heavy assault rifle. That's the one. It's
when you get that upgraded, and then you can just fire indefinitely.
Forever, yeah.
It's just fucking wrecked. You just walk into rooms and just kill everything immediately. That's fucking great. I liked the precision bolt on the railgun.
Yeah,
I like sniping stuff with that.
So
good.
Just pops them like melons. So good.
Yeah, like if you hit a Cacodemon right in the eye with it, they die immediately, and you can like headshot Hell Knights with it and stuff. Like that's a really fun gun.
Yeah, another gun that I sort of really underappreciated until I think it was a point in the game where I didn't have any fuel left for my chainsaw, and I ran out of like ammo for all of the guns that I was regularly using, and then it came to me just having that little plasma gun that fires out those weird plasma bullet things, and it has that
the plasma rifle
thing.
Oh, and it has the heat.
Yeah. Like I sort of that gun grew on me as I played that game.
Good. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a weird one. I never used it enough, but it's pretty good. The stun on it's pretty good too.
Yeah.
The sound effect isn't good enough for me. Like, it's a good gun technically, but the sound effect is too weak. Yeah.
It doesn't have the same
It's not hefty.
tactile feedback to it.
Yeah.
But that's the thing about this game, I think, isn't it? Every gun is actually just a fucking treasure. Like, there's not actually one that I can think of that's not good.
The pistol.
So. Yeah, I mean, that doesn't count though, does it?
That you stop using the moment you get the shotgun in the first 3 minutes.
You know,
And
you can
never-
upgrade that weapon. You can upgrade the pistol.
I don't know why. It sounds like a complete waste of points.
Yeah.
I think maybe there's a trophy associated with it.
You'd run
No
out of
idea.
points eventually, right? If you get everything.
Yeah, like at some point you just have to spend next to nothing else to spend points on, but then you just go, fuck it, I'm just not even going to spend the points on that.
You should do a pistol-only run of Doom.
Oh,
man.
no.
Maybe that would make Hurt Me Plenty fun.
Pistol only. I think it would make it the worst thing ever.
Yeah, I do that often when, if I'm playing Destiny with my brother, I'll scream pistol. Well, not pistol, but it started off swords only because swords are great fun. But we recently got a weapon that both of us have called the Rat King, which Destiny fans may know.
I know the
And,
right thing, yeah.
I shouted it before going into one of the post-raid missions. And he was a bit like, went into it. It locked our loadouts, and you can't do that. You can't do that game with just a pistol. It was like the hardest thing we've ever done. We had to quit. Pistol-only things, not fun. Don't do them.
Confirmed.
So I know we're coming to sort of the end here because I know Chor has to the most. So does anyone have any closing thoughts on Doom?
I just
From the
think it's
sounds of it- oh, sorry, go ahead.
Nope. I just think it's you know, for what it is, for it being like an action, fast paced shooting game, that it's amazing. The gun variety is awesome. The soundtrack is, as we said, it's just absolutely amazing. And I think, yeah, it may not be to some people's taste, but for sure, if you are into, you know, fast paced action games, give it a shot. That's all I can say about it. Is it may not seem like something you'd be interested in to start with, but I can guarantee by the end of it, you'll look back at it and be like, man, Doom is such an awesome game.
I think from the sounds of it, what we've established is play it on ultra violence, even if
Yeah.
it's not particularly
Oh, yeah.
good, just take a while, right? Just
Yeah, I mean,
it'll take you
yeah.
longer, but
And if it is too hard, then like you can turn it down. But then, like if you are going to play it on Hurt Me Plenty, try and make use of the full breadth of stuff. And I think something we didn't touch on, but I think is try and collect the secrets in the collectibles and like read the codex entries and sort of get everything you can out of the game, because there is a lot of stuff around the edges that you don't necessarily have to get, but going and hunting down those secrets and getting those collectibles, if nothing else, they give you more weapon upgrade points and more suit upgrade points. So they do eventually make you more powerful, and they give you codex entries, which like they do fill in the relatively sparse stories you've said. So I think try and get as much out of it as possible, because I think if you just play it as like, I've got a shotgun, I've got an assault rifle, I'm just going to shoot all this stuff, you might get pretty tired pretty quick.
yeah.
Yeah.
I think we've established a pretty good feeling about Doom, and I think that's sort of that's what we've come back to time and time again, isn't it? Is that that's it? Make the most of it. Don't just play through it. Experience it as Doom.
There is a hell of a lot there to experience.
Yeah, it's not something that holds your hand and tells you what to do. It's up to you. It's up to you to make fun of it, I think. Or make fun out of it, not make.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm a big fan. I'm a big fan of it since it came out. I was back then. I remain a big fan of it. I'd be interested to know what you think of those last few levels, Dylan, if you get a chance to finish them.
I'll probably end up telling us all, shouting over the news because I'm a bad person and I do bad things.
It's okay. Yeah, because I think at least in my experience playing it again on Hurt Me Plenty, it didn't. I didn't really fully engage with Doom in the way I did in that Ultraviolence run until those last few levels. So I think it'd be cool to see what you think there.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, that was Shouting Over Static, Season 2, Episode 1, Doom.
It's a good name.
I'll think of a better name. I'll listen through it again and see if one of us says something funny.
Doom is great.
Doom is great.
Doom is great.
I think we should announce the next month's game. We should announce May's game at the end. So I'm going to do our full spate of shout-outs and the like. So, find us on iTunes and SoundCloud at Shouting Over Static, a video game show and tell project. You can also find us a week displaced, because we want you to be on our iTunes and SoundCloud, at YouTube at Low Expectations Media, which is the name of a channel. Fun fact. You should like all these things, subscribe to all these things, comment on all these things. Shout out, here we go. I'm actually going to give our first ever Shouting Over Static shout out. And I am going to say shout out to the one person who seems to be consistently looking at anything we do and commenting on it. Shout out to Simon J. Carter, who's commenting on all our YouTube stuff. He's commented on loads of our YouTube stuff. Yeah. He was the person who noticed that Dylan was Welsh.
Oh, fuck.
Nice.
Yeah.
He's also the guy who posted a recipe for how to make the dessert, an Eton mess, on that episode that I named Like an Eton Mess. He posted a link to BBC Good Eats, I believe. Shout out to Simon J. Carter.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, so that was episode 1 of the second series of Shouting Over Static. We've got a game for May. We've got a May game, a game that we will discuss in May.
Wait, when are we doing it?
June.
Cool, I thought so.
Sweet. Who wants to announce it?
I'm happy to if nobody else does speak. And then I could have just gone on forever.
It's better than that time that I said fight over it and then you just did it.
But I did win that fight.
Yeah, you did win that fight in the only way that you can. Dylan, what game are we going to be playing and talking about in May 2018?
We are going to be playing Splinter Cell Conviction, the 360 game, right? Or 360 generation game. Not much else to say, really. We're going to experience it over the next month. I know nothing about it, so hopefully I'll know more in a month's time.
Yeah.
We're going to be playing Tom Clancy's Splinter Cell Conviction for the Xbox 360 and Windows Personal Computer, released in 2010. April 2010.
Oh shit, should have been our April game. God damn.
and Doom should have been our May game, because that was a May game. But that's not how we're going to do things, because it's going to make the July episodes really limited.
Yeah. Or for July, we make our own game.
All right,
that's a whole new podcast.
All right, chaps. We will be back for Shouting Over Static in about a month's time to discuss Tom Clancy's Splinter Cell Conviction, made by Ubisoft Montreal. We will also be back next week to talk about video game news.
Yeah.
You know, see what's
Sounds
going on
about
in the world of video games.
We'll have more content next week as well, because we missed a week. Nice.
Oh
shit, yeah.
Shit, yeah, okay. That's a good idea. I don't think I've been keeping track of any news I've read in the last few days, though, so I should probably, do that.
It's alright. We'll figure something out.
Right, gents. I have been Mark, and I've been joined by my stalwart companions in video game discussion, Chor.
Yep, that's me.
That's not what you're supposed to say, Chor. Jack.
It's been a pleasure, Mark. Thanks for having me.
And Dylan.
Bye!
Right. Thanks for listening, guys. Bye.
Bye.